Great to see you. Well, almost see you. Thank you for being here. And first, let me showcase my pandemic haircut. I just asked my wife this morning. I said, please just cut it all off. So I'm feeling refreshed, and I didn't even have to go out to a barber or anything like that. So today, we're actually here to talk about the conversation of getting into the mix, which is a conversation we're going to be having with production sound mixer Mike Rayle. And this getting into the mix conversation is for all of us. And today, what we're really going to talk about is we're going to explore what shapes us as filmmakers working in the production sound business. Because no matter what your role is on the sound team, one thing that makes us all unique, I would say, is our backgrounds and our specific experiences that gravitated towards ourselves, towards the film business in the first place. So I can only imagine that a lot of us have had key mentors that have helped bring us into the business, all of which have played a significant role in helping develop our own individual styles and approaches to accomplishing what I'll call our shared common goal of capturing outstanding cinematic dialogue quality in the filmmaking process. So today we have the pleasure to have that conversation with production sound mixer Michael Rayle. Michael is a member of IATSE Local 479 and 695 in Los Angeles. He is also an active member of the Cinema Audio Society and a member of the Television Academy of Arts and Sciences. In fact, in 2019, Michael was nominated for the 56th CAS Awards for Outstanding Achievement in Sound Mixing for his work on Netflix hit TV series Stranger Things. Some of his other recent projects can be heard on productions such as Netflix's Outer Banks, Melissa McCarthy's upcoming feature Thunderforce, The Passage, The Resident, and over 60 episodes of the TV series Sleepy Hollow. So with that, let's introduce Mike. Michael, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Yeah,
Love your haircut.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we were talking when you came on. I love all of the musical vibe and flow that you have going on in the background there. So you guys are a family of musicians, or what's that about?
Well, it's pretty much me and my daughter. My wife is a big fan, but my daughter Ava is playing now, so I've been able to sort of dive back into it with her. So that's been super fun.
Oh, I'd imagine. It's really great, to take what, we'll say, is an unfortunate situation. I mean, for obviously a lot of us with just the film business being shut down in general, but also there are some positives, and being able to spend some time and get that extra time with family has also been something that I've really cherished.
Yeah, me too. Agreed.
Great. So Mike, I think when you relocated here, it was around 2015, and I got to know you in Atlanta community and had the pleasure to come day play on some of your projects. And when the moment I met you, Mike, I knew I could learn a lot from you. And one of the things I really picked up on is your focused approach to filmmaking as a sound mixer, and also your steadfast optimism. And to me, that was very intriguing. And so start us off, Michael. You often talk about coming up as a production sound mixer in North Carolina and cutting your teeth under mixers you've worked with starting out as a sound utility. Can you talk about some of your most memorable experiences in your early career and how you believe they shaped you on how you approach your career as a sound mixer today?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to have worked for several great sound mixers. I mean, when I started in North Carolina, I worked for Carl Rudisill and Larry Long, and I moved into Los Angeles and worked with Peter Liedall and Ed Novick and our mutual friend Peter Devlin. And they I just absorbed everything I could from them. And they had a philosophy of mixing that I really agreed with, you know. And Peter Liedall particularly, you know, you and Witt touched on something last week that I think was important. And he had said to me that he considered himself a filmmaker, not so much a sound man. And that is a good philosophy sort of just approach our craft with, you know, and try to learn what's important to the mix, how it benefits the TV show or the movie that we're working on, and just kind of start from there. I mean, it's sort of a thread that we need to have as sound mixers.
Absolutely, Mike. And, you know, and speaking of that conversation of approaching ourselves as filmmakers first, you know, did you find that your mentors early on working in the business had instilled this in you, or is that something that you discovered, you think, over time as your career evolved and you really started to get into the craft?
I mean, I think it was a little of both, you know. I certainly admired those guys that I felt like were maybe even looked at it from a real artistic point of view and weren't too gear obsessed or just sort of focused on what they were doing and didn't care about any of the other departments. I mean, we're all trying to make this great product. So that was a big influence on me.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that too, Mike, because, you know, if you look at the content that's out there and so many of the things that we see and talk about online is so focused on gear and equipment. And the truth is there's so much to our craft in general as far as the elements of working as a production sound mixer, as a filmmaker first, and all of the details and experiences that go into that. So I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you today about that. So Mike, let me move on to the next question here. And as I navigate the live stream here, okay. So let's fast forward today, Mike, and let's talk about working with your specific sound team. So in particular, your team members on set, the boom op and sound utility. What are the fundamental skills, in your opinion, Mike, for each role, and how long does it take for someone to really lock in to your workflow? And for example, if someone comes in as a day player to work with your sound team, what sort of conversations do you have with them surrounding the way you like to help them gel with your style of mixing or your department's particular workflow?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I think our fundamental approach is, I mean, I'm lucky enough to have had a crew work with me for years. I mean, my boom operator is Dan Giannatasio, and we've worked together for 14 years. My utility is Jenny Elsinger. She's been with me for most of 10 years. They're both amazing. I mean, at this point, we've gelled as much as we're going to. And we sort of have a divide and conquer approach. You know, it's like if we're lucky enough to go in and see a rehearsal, it's important for us to look at the scene from 3 different points of view. You know, it's like I'll watch it and think about just my mix and how I'm going to make it the best that I can make it. Dan is looking at it from a boom operator's point of view. You know, it's like, where is he going to put the stick? You know, what can he give me? Where can he physically be? Because he certainly can't do anything he wants to do. And Jenny will look at it from a point of view of like, where is she going to put radio mics on the actors? How can she get the set quieter, you know, with carpets or squeaky chairs or noisy ballast and all these types of things. So if we divvy up that information and stay on top of one another and talk about it, it usually is the most effective. And as far as somebody coming in, it's usually a utility that will come in with me for a day. My first thing to them is that, you know, you're not my assistant. I mean, we work in this environment now where sound department is the same size and the camera department has grown into, you know, it can be 12 or 15 people. So we have to even be more aware and more present, more aggressive in what we're trying to do. So, you know, the utility is critical and you're running around, you're dealing with all the radios and locket boxes and slates and second booming, putting carpets down, all these things. So somebody's got to be really reliable that can be aggressive with that. booming is maybe harder than it's ever been, with looking at cameras all over the place and trying to decide what you can do. So that's kind of our approach. Just everybody take the specific job and do the best they can with it.
Yeah, and one of the things, I had noticed, because I had actually had the opportunity to fill in for you on Manhunt, was just how well dialed in that Dan and Jenny were at their specific roles. And I remember a specific story where my mind actually got blown away with the aptitude of Jenny on your sound team, because there was this very long corridor scene where they were coming out of this corridor into what was the bullpen, and then the antennas were not going to be able to reach the RF of the starting point of this Steadicam shot, which was going to continue all the way into this bullpen. And Jenny literally grabs the KTEC par with the LPDAs with one hand,
Right.
and is wrangling cable and dropping backwards at the same time. And my jaw dropped. I just, and when we were approaching, it's like, oh, wow, this is going to be an RF thing. She was like, yeah, I got it. It was just, and one of the things that you had said is, Michael, the sound team will take care of you, whatever you need. And it was one of these opportunities that I literally felt truly like a guest of your department, and the ability to be able to come sit down and really, as another mixer, see the aptitude really spoke a lot to that communication that you're talking about, that you have with your sound team and them knowing their roles.
Right. Yeah, it's important. I mean, and again, I just consider myself really lucky to work with both of them for such a long time. We know each other so well, and it really helps tremendously in what we're trying to do.
And Michael, let's talk a little bit about like challenges in that world. Like what, how do you typically deal as a team with when things, let's say, aren't working? Like in particular, let's say you're not able to get the boom where you want to be, or for some reason the wire is not working on that. Is it just a matter of everyone knowing their role and doing their best and accepting? Or is there more of a collaborative effort that you guys work on together as far as knowing what the next steps are?
Boy, again, I'm lucky to have been with them for so long that they kind of know what I want to do, and we all think similarly. I mean, we just sort of like make it happen. I mean, you've worked with people for so long, we know what plan B, what C and D is going to be. So, yeah, that's just kind of how we do it. And sometimes it happens so fast that I fortunately don't even have to think too much about it.
Yeah, that's really amazing to be able to have that consistency and symbiotic communication that you're talking about. How long have you been working with Dan and Jenny on your current sound team?
Dan, 14 years, and Jenny was most of 10 years.
Wow, that is amazing to me.
Yeah, we've had a lot of lunches together.
Wow, that is great. So, Mike, speaking of relevancy, especially with what's happening right now in our industry, one of the things I want to talk about is one of your most recent shows that we had a chance to talk about together that you mixed was Netflix's new series, Outer Banks. Mm-hmm. And when you and I were discussing this project, you had mentioned the strong collaborative relationship that you had with the VFX department. Mm-hmm. What kind of challenges were you dealing with, and how did you flesh out the details with VFX, and what kind of things were possible that you were doing that maybe you hadn't been able to do on shows in the past?
Oh man, when we started Outer Banks, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's just beaches and sand and boat work and everything that makes our job so difficult. But I had an early conversation with the director, who's also a creator and a good friend of mine, Jonas Pate. And he and I were talking about how challenging it was going to be for sound. And after reading the script and doing some scouts and this kind of thing, I knew particularly the boat-to-boat work, which there was a big chunk of it, that we were going to have to get our heads around using lavaliers on the actors and having them taken out in post. And fortunately, we brought in our visual effects supervisor, and had these talks with him early, which was the key. And we all got on board. And at first, it took a little greasing and make everybody comfortable, but in time it quickly became the way, and I know that's becoming more common in a lot of productions now, but this is, I think, the first show that I did it on a really big scale. But any of mixers out there that are coming across shows like this, that this might be your only solution, I mean, just get in there and talk and make it happen, because their tools have come a long way, man, and we certainly made it work on Outer Banks. But it was a good learning curve for all of us.
So like when you were in the pre-production process and brought onto the show and reading the scripts, at what point did you say these wardrobes are going to be very challenging and I need to start having these conversations with the VFX producer or supervisor? Was it was it a process that developed over time when you started shooting as you were dealing with challenges, or were you able to just see that kind of from the get-go and start having the conversations right away?
No, it was right away. I mean, it was just from the first meeting that I had. I mean, I knew that all the actors were like in bikinis or shirtless and that type of stuff, running around. I mean, it was a lot of handheld work. And so, I mean, fortunately, it was like there was no other way to do it. So I had that wind at my back, and I knew I could go talk to the VFX and our director and sort of like all of us make a plan together,
And I also noticed, when I haven't had a chance to watch the series, Mike, but I noticed when I was researching the show and watching the trailer, you had talked about, there being shirtless actors. So since VFX was working with you, were you able to put lavs on some of the shirtless actors?
We did. We did quite a bit of that. And also there, we did a hurricane episode. So there were just tons of background noise and fans at times, and so we did a lot of wild tracks. But again, that was one of those situations where I was able to talk to the director and explain to him that the only way we're going to get it was by doing these wild tracks. And post has come such a long way with stuffing dialogue into the mouths of actors and different takes, and it looked great and it sounded great. So just again, I was just able to get in there early, talk to everyone, form a plan, make time for it, and I had the cooperation, and it worked.
That's a really amazing story, Mike. Because I've talked to other mixers who are having similar sort of relationships with VFX and really getting things done. And to me, it's just inspiring, and it shows and speaks to the amount of filmmaking collaboration that really is necessary for capturing good sound. And one of those things that utilizes technology that's not necessarily in our kits. We're always thinking about, what are we going to add here, or how am I going to make this work, and how am I going to solve this with my equipment on my cart, but really thinking and having the hindsight of, I'm going to talk to VFX and then also get the director, the showrunner, and all the conversations that need to be on board to pull this off. Ultimately, I'd imagine gave you great gains on the show.
Oh, tremendous. I mean, because you know how it goes. I mean, everybody, they want to very often push sound to the side and for us to just sort of magically capture what we need to capture. But this was one of those cases where there were just needed to help up the production. And fortunately, they were totally on board with it. And it became a fun challenge. I mean, all of us learned. And should we return for season 2, it'll probably be even easier to do.
Yeah, and I think you were also on, Mike, the Zoom call that we've been doing from the LA Sound Mixers group, where we have all of the mixers on there, and there was one specific about post. And I believe Mark Mangini, one of the re-recording mixers who was on the Zoom, was talking about that relationship that we should have with the filmmakers, the directors, the executive producers, to help be involved in that process. And really what you were able to pull off there, to me, really speaks to that. And, I'm hearing a lot of that.
Yeah. It's never been easier to get in touch with these guys that we need to talk to. And so I know that I've reached out to them on every project that I do and try to talk to anybody. And I think I may need their help, or I may be able to give them some information down the line that they may find useful.
Yeah, that's really powerful, Mike. Thank you for sharing that with us. So let's move on to the next question, Mike. So here's one. So we've had some really me and you, Mike, throughout the years we've known each other, we've had some really excellent conversations about the craft of listening as a sound mixer and how we develop those individually and in our own career paths, and even traded some stories about this craft of listening and mixing. What did it take, Mike, in your career for you to develop your ears to be able to mix like your mentors and get the sound you really wanted from your projects? What was that process like, and how long did that take, Mike?
Oh man, Mike, I mean, it's a continuing process, you know. Again, I go back to being lucky enough to work with a lot of great sound mixers when I was a utility, and so many of those guys trying to explain to me, like what you needed to hear, what to focus on, the delicacies of these microphones, what the lenses are seeing, signal to noise, and all these little details that I think you can't really apply when you're just sort of reading it. I mean, you really need to sit on a set and listen and pay attention and maybe swap stories and listen to other sound mixers, listen to directors if you can find one that is interested in sound. Listen to final mixes on your television show or your favorite movie, and really start to train your ears and listen to it from a different point of view. But to me, it just takes time, and I don't think I would do anything to give up all the experience I had listening to a bunch of great sound mixers before I started mixing.
Yeah, you make some really excellent points, Mike. And, I spent a lot of time, as we have talked about, in music and working in post, even before going in as a production sound mixer. And I really just remember just how long it really, really takes just to connect and be able to listen and hear and just create what your intention is to create, which is just, an outstanding mix. And, one of the things we had also talked about, Mike, is the fact that both of us, one thing we have in common is musicians, and also picking out individual instruments and so forth. When you're a musician, and improvisation is also a skill that can happen in listening that has often helped with picking out background noises, or sometimes singing the hum to the boom mods. It's that sound right there. Go find that sound. I mean, do you think, Michael, as being a musician and yourself, that has helped you with your listening as far as the craft of production sound mixing?
Yeah, probably so. I mean, I'm always, working on my ears in some way, but yeah, you're right. I like the idea of you humming your annoying sounds back to your crew so they can go find them. I'm going to start doing that, though. That is my favorite thing. I also can see you doing that in hospice later on in your life, just so you know, just kind of like walking around humming and pointing. So I'm really looking forward.
Absolutely. I look forward to that as well, Michael.
I'll probably be there.
Exactly. And we'll both be there. Just hopefully, I'm not first. So, all right. So let's move on, Mike. So when working with Stranger Things season 3, you spoke about, Michael, the opportunity to capture perspectives. And I love this conversation of perspectives and capturing perspectives. And you had alluded to, or better yet, had talked about the fact that the creator, executive producer, director, this massive role of the Duffer Brothers in Stranger Things, the creators of Shooting Style, which had this heavy performance on performances. How did this affect what you were able to do on set, and any particular stories or scenes that you felt were special as a result of being able to work with the Duffer Brothers style?
I mean, the Stranger Things is obviously a special show. I mean, it's a great show. The Duffers care about sound. And what's unique about it is that it's mostly a one-camera show, which is something we're really getting away from on television and on feature films. So for me to be able to go and get a boom track on 90% of the show, although we always delivered optional stems of lives and plants and all the other usual stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it was just great. And I had a conversation with Ross Stuffer early on, and we were talking about sound, and he's a big proponent. But I was mentioning to him that since they shoot with one camera and they go to these great lengths to modify the look of that show so it looked like 1985, which was the season that I did. Just with their shooting style, I'm able to record it in a way similar to 1985. It's like, which was mostly booms in those days, and so I like to think that it gives this sort of gets in the subconscious of the viewer and gives it an authenticity that it might not have otherwise gotten, and simply just more fun for us. I mean, my boom operator loved it, and he's just getting right in there with the intimacy of the boom and grabbing all these great performances. And those guys they are able to focus on one person at a time mostly, and it allows all of us to make a better product. I mean, I think the proof is in the pudding.
And speaking of this 1985 aesthetic that you're talking about, with Stranger Things, did you make any choices on boom microphones that aligned with that? Did you choose anything, according to that sort of, specification, Mike?
I didn't do anything like that. I always just wanted it to sound as good as it possibly could. So I just went with my standard microphones that I often use, but I thought it turned out great, and our post team did an incredible job. I thought it sounded fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I, like millions of others, very much enjoyed the show. It was really great work, and it's obviously evident. And moving on to the next question, Mike. So any new gear purchases on the horizon, and in particular, Mike, obviously, we're all wanting to get back to work and thinking about getting back to work, and probably putting a lot of thought and attention on our kits. I know I am. Mm-hmm. What can we get rid of? What can we add? How can we be smaller? I mean, the question for you is what sort of things are you thinking about in your kit going into this new landscape that we're all entering, back into the industry here when we do get back at it?
Oh man, I think we need to be more and more nimble. I mean, don't you? I think we need to just get smaller. I mean, we've never been in a time where all these manufacturers are making stuff that it's getting physically smaller, but it's so powerful. And I think this time that we're in now it's going to be looked back in history as like when we went from Nagras to file-based recordings, or we went from shooting on film to mostly shooting on video cameras. I think we'll look back and say, oh yeah, before COVID, we shot this way and now we shoot this way. So possibly smaller crews. So lighter, tighter equipment is going to be important.
Yeah. And what really resonates too with me, Michael, is some of our previous conversations about the coordination with the VFX department with Outer Banks, as far as being able to paint things out, and also the amazing success of the Duffer Brothers Stranger Things with this single camera shooting style. And one of the things that you had mentioned when we were talking, I believe a few conversations ago, about how you see this new landscape as an opportunity, and really we could be moving into something that obviously is going to have its challenges, but also could also have some opportunities.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. It is an opportunity.
Yeah, that's great. So, Michael, we're going to move on to some Q&A and a split screen here. So we've got some questions and comments that we'll put up here. So thank you guys, everyone, for being here. And this has been a really great conversation, Mike. And
thanks for having me. I love this. I love you doing this. I mean, this is like quarantine edition.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm learning a lot. I'm having a lot of fun. And it's just, I've really appreciated all of the content that's been out there in our professional community, and everyone, spending time and energy participating towards that has meant a lot to me as well.
Me too. Yeah. Fine.
Yeah. So, all right. So, Alejandro just says, hello. Alejandro is a regular on this channel. Michael, Alejandro, thank you for being here, and also a sound mixer, and I appreciate it. Thank you for saying hello. And Levi Carter, thanks for saying hello. And then Josh Duncan is here. Hey, Josh. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Oh, look, Bo Williams, Michael, is tuned in. Hey, Bo, how are you? Thanks for being here.
Hey, Bo.
Hope you're doing well. And now we have a Dejan Seiko. Thank you for saying hello. Cheers. I apologize if I'm not saying that correctly. David Garcia says hello. Hello. Thank you for being here, David. Oh, look. Patrick Michelli. Hey, everyone. Good to see you, Patrick. It's great to see you on all of the Zoom group the other day as well. Patrick has been actually very helpful on this channel, has helped me with quite a few videos. And
good.
Yeah, so he's been really good and helpful. And Day played a lot on American Soul. He came in as additional and is always really great attitude and super good to work with. Josh Duncan. I covered the reshoots and Jonas was very accommodating to my crew. Hearing this now makes everything make sense.
Yeah, Josh, he did a great job.
Which one? Which show is he? Are we talking about Outer Banks? Which one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Well, Josh, that's good to know. That's really, really cool.
Alejandro, we were lucky to be able to get him.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Now, let's see here. Comments are coming in, and I'm trying to get here. Flip is here. Hey, Flip, how are you, sir?
He's a regular.
He is a regular, man, and a mentor of mine. Very, very experienced and amazing mixer that I hope to have on the channel very, very soon.
Oh, man. That's who you need to ask about mixing.
Oh, yeah. I already do all the time. And so we said Alejandro. All right, so Naan, Nan Spice. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. We have a lot of international viewers here, Mike, which is super cool. Hi, Michael. Thank you for putting this on. You're welcome. Thank you for being here. And he also goes on to say, and yes, I agree, having a solid sound team is so important. Most certainly so. So this is a question, and I think we spoke a little bit about this, but Dejan, Dejan, says post-COVID tasks. I think he's talking mostly about some of the workflow stuff we talked about, Michael, like a question like anything particular that you think that you'll be adding as far as part of your daily routine with the post-COVID workflow.
Man, I actually, hope only that it benefits our department, particularly, with maybe we get a little more time to do what we need to do. I mean, there's been a lot of conversations about limitations with radio mics.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping that means we'll limit the 3 and 4 and 5 cameras. Get back to shooting stuff with fewer cameras and using our booms a lot more and only using wires as needed. I mean, but yeah, I don't know. It's so speculative right now. I mean, you've probably been reading everything that I've been reading, and I don't know yet, but TBD.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you for the question, Dejan. And Flip comments, 1985 was the beginning of wireless microphone in films. It was the beginning of grade school for me, Flip. He's absolutely right. I mean, the aesthetic, and speaking, you were talking about the aesthetic of 1985 on Stranger Things, and you hit it right on the head. I mean, the wires is not going to tell that story,
Right.
And the fact that the Duffer Brothers were really concerned about that aesthetic and that workflow, and you were able to collaborate with them on that level is really outstanding. Yeah. Thank you, Flip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a question from Nan Spice. What boom mics do you usually use, Mike?
I still love to use Sankens and Sennheisers and DPAs. Kind of my go-to mics. The Sanken I used a lot on Outer Banks in Charleston. It was really humid and it was a pretty robust. It was able to hang in there, with all the water and heat, humidity, and salt.
Now you're talking about for exteriors, right, Mike?
Yeah,
Which microphone was that for the exteriors that you were talking about?
CS3, like the CS3.
Oh,
yeah. And the show was like nearly entirely exterior, so we used a bunch of those.
Yeah, the rejection on that microphone is incredible, isn't it?
It is.
The off-axis rejection.
Yeah, I still love it. Yeah.
Now, I think that microphone, Mike, also has 3 capsules inside of it. Like if you go to the Sanken site, they talk about, and I had no idea about this, because I was making a comparison video of the CSM1 and CS3E, and I said, well, I better know something about these microphones. So I read a little bit, and supposedly this multiple capsule design actually helps eliminate proximity effect. And what I mean by that is the loss of low end, because proximity effect goes in both directions. It can be what I'm doing here with this microphone, or a low end loss. For those who are watching and new to the microphones and so forth, which probably aren't many. So yeah, thank you for the question, Nan. And Alejandro has a question, and if we can get this here on the subject of Stranger Things. Was the Sennheiser 816 used in the 80s, and was it AT or phantom power?
Flip.
Flip.
You could chime in.
Yes. Flip will hopefully answer that question. That's a great question, Alejandro. And I don't know. I guess we could research and find out if someone wants to Google it real quick. When was the 816 made first? And now I do know a lot of. Do you have a shotgun, a true shotgun on your kit, Mike? Like a long mic, like an MKH70 or A16 or something like that?
I do have an A16.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, they're all great mics.
Because
really good question.
But because the CS3E and a lot of the shotguns we see today are short shotgun microphones. Technically, they're not really shotguns. You hear shotguns, but the shotguns are like the 816, the MK70. Right. What are some? Doesn't Neumann have a long one too? Or am I making that up?
When I started doing this too, MKH70s were kind of the thing.
Yeah.
Those are great mics.
Yeah, I worked on an indie feature back in like 2014, and a DP of the film, a guy named Mitch Lipsner, who is here in Atlanta, had this MKH70 like randomly brought it to me and said, hey, do you want to use this? And I mean, at the time I was mixing that movie on a 633 and some 411s and an SRB. And I had, a host of mics, and I said, sure, of course I want to use it. Just use it for the show. And I was just, and I came to him 3 years later and purchased. I said, do you still have that MK show? Because he wanted me to buy it. And at the time I couldn't afford it, but then I came back to him later and actually bought that microphone, and I'm glad I did.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
I love what those long mics do as far as picking up details.
Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, there was a post on JW Sound, I think, that I read at one time where they were talking about long shotgun mics, and it was something a matter of like the description of a truck drives down the road and pulls into a driveway, and then the next one with the long shot one is an old vintage 70s truck, wheels rustle the rocks as the dirt flies. But you know what I mean? Trying to explain the difference between those two microphones when you're listening. I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know.
That sounds like the opening scene of every Stranger Things episode.
Yeah, detail, man, detail. So Dejan Seiko says, great talk. Yes, thank you for being here, Dejan. I really appreciate it. Oh, Carl Weldon from New York. Carl, how are you? Sound mixer from New York, Mike. Real active online, super nice guy. Also very talented. Does a lot of arts type stuff as well. Voiceover artist. He's a multi-talented guy. Thanks for being here, Carl. Randy Foster. Hello, gentlemen. Hey, Randy. Thank you for tuning in. And going down the line. And I think Bo is saying, and I am always way behind on the chat here, so forgive me, guys. He's saying great to see you guys. Good to see you too, Bo. Bo Williams.
You too, Bo.
Yeah. And then Nan with a question, or hi, I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Sound mixer here. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here, Nan. I appreciate it. I'm always jealous of the Canadians, Mike. They always seem like it's just nice out there, man. The weather's beautiful. Oh, look, Genesis. This is great. Thanks for doing this. Genesis is a sound utility in 479, Mike Rayle, and she's also helped me on these videos before. Great to see you, Genesis. Thank you for being here and saying hello. Nas says, haha, pretty close. Cheers. I think he's talking about my poor pronunciation. Oh, look at that. Female mixer. And thank you very much, Nan, for correcting me. And I said he, and I should have said she. All right. Thank you for being here, Nan, and letting me know that and correcting me there. Syed. So we have a comment from Syed Athar Jafari. Hi, great talk. This is great. Thank you for being here. Dejan says, thank you for the answer. And hello, ATA18. Thank you for being here. Oh, look, Bo is helping us out, Mike. Remember when we were talking about what the long mic is for the Neumann? The KM82i.
Right.
That's what
it's a good mic.
Oh man, anything Neumann is a good mic. I used to own a U80. Yeah. I used to own a U87, and I traded it for a computer.
Ooh.
I know that's a bad trade, isn't it?
Dude.
That's embarrassing.
Where's that computer?
It's probably in the garbage somewhere now. I mean, that was at the time I needed the computer more than I needed the mic for the work, so I had to do it. But man, I knew I'd never. My rule, Mike, I don't know how you are about gear, is I try not to sell mics or instruments. Mm-hmm. Everything else, zero attachments. Recorders, wireless. Right. When they're done, man. You know?
Right. No, I don't have much sentimental value to old gear.
Yeah. You typically sell your stuff off once you, like, is there like a time limit that you go, ooh, I haven't used this in 6-8 months, I'm going to get rid of it, or?
Yeah. A couple of shows, if it hasn't come off the truck, it can safely go away forever.
John Hicks, True Audio Atlanta. Thank you for being here, John. Starting a brand new debate saying Strat or Telly.
Gretsch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's talking about yours. Oh, yeah. With that, is that a Bigsby tremolo?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. See, that's what we should really be doing, is talking about guitars on here, right?
That's what I usually do on set, so it would be
John,
in line with that.
John, I have both. And I actually have picked them up recently, forced out of work. I am finally coming to terms that I have dropped all creative and positive endeavors for myself and slowly start to pick it back up. All right. So, here we go. Here's a question. ATA A18. What can we do if we need to work boom only in the next months because of the pandemic and all the problems coming from that? That's a great question, actually. Let me read it one more time, Mike. What can we do?
Yeah.
The question is what can we do if we need to work boom only in the next months because of the pandemic and all the problems coming from that? What would you do, Mike?
Right. Well, I mean, again, these changes that we're going to go through soon, I mean, to me, that just encourages all of us to get in as early as we can with our productions and talk to them, and because they're going to have to shoot structured in a manner that we can record audio with a boom. I know that Michael Clark had mentioned that he was having conversations with his production, and I'm sure some of that probably came up. I have to check in with him on that. But I don't think that we can assume we're just going to roll back on the set and work in the way that we had before. So
Yeah.
I know for me, if I were to return to Stranger Things or Outer Banks or whatever happens, and if there are rules in place, that I think we have to very quickly jump on that and talk to our production, our producers and our directors about how to make it work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and rather than debating, right,
Mm-hmm.
Michael, oh no, we can't do that. We have, is
Mm-hmm.
okay. We understand. This is what you're thinking. This is how we can make it work. This is
Yeah.
what, those
Yeah.
kind of,
You're going to have to
yeah,
come with ideas.
yeah. That makes a lot of sense, and a lot of openness and flexibility, you know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
because I'd imagine things are going to be sensitive to start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd imagine. Um, Great question. Thank you, ATA18. Oh, Mr. Eric Magnus. How are you, Eric? Long time no talk, sir. Question for you, Michael Rayle. He says, afternoon, gentlemen. Michael, what is your current wireless boom setup?
Currently I'm using Electros with an MM1, and they've been working out great. When we were on Outer Banks, I went with plug-on transmitters because it was just one less piece of gear we had to drag around. And I mean, they sound great. They were very robust. I mean, I think that's one of the things that Electrosonics has been good at over the years is they particularly have been very robust in extreme temperatures. It's been my experience.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think, Mike? Do you think you'll be using your plug-on transmitters more coming into this new landscape, or is that just kind of depends? You know.
I can see that. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
going back to what we said earlier about just getting smaller and
Yeah.
eliminating as much gear as we possibly can.
Yeah.
And I can see that.
My intention, I think we talked about, is I am officially trying to retire the MM1s for the main use.
Yeah.
Just for just in case I have to hold a boom. Is that selfish? Like I finally make the change
So
because
what?
I
That's
might
what I
have
say.
to do
So
it.
what?
Never mind all of the other boom ops, right?
That
Well,
is
I
spoken
might
like
have
a
to
true
hold it, so
mixer.
maybe the plug on is going to be better. I actually
Yeah,
love
I'll
the
take the
limiter on
spot.
the plug on. Did I say I didn't like it? I love it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and so thank you, Eric. Great question, sir. Thank you for being here. Carl has a question. Can you tell us about a mistake / screw up you made when you were getting started that you learned the most from, taught you a valuable lesson in your career? We'll leave
Oh
that
man,
one for you, Michael.
that's a great question. There are probably so many that I just blotted them out of my mind. I think some of the early lessons I learned is, again, going back to maybe our communication. And I think I didn't quite understand how important the flow is. Like if I need to talk to post and the re-recording mixers and trying to figure out that chain of who to talk to, when to talk to that person. And so no one's feelings get hurt, because they're very quick often to turn it around on you. And they feel like that, if I were to complain to a post-production producer about the way the set was run, like, I'm sorry it sucked today, but they were running all these fans and I told them not to do it and they did it anyway. Then I did that once, and a director came back to me and like lit into me and said, if you had mentioned that to me earlier, I could have helped you. And that was a big lesson. I mean, that might have been on the first film I ever mixed. And I thought I was doing the right thing maybe by just like reaching out, but it was more of a, hey, so post, look out for this. This was happening today or something. And certainly should have gone to the director first.
Yeah.
Said, hey, how can we fix this? But I think those lessons, certainly I learned a few of those. But that communication with everybody is important, but also can be very delicate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great story, Mike. Thank you for sharing that. And Carl, that's a great question. Sometimes the most powerful things in our career, and I know me personally, are the mistakes that I've made.
Oh, totally.
And you just, whether you come off the wrong way, as far as a conversation about something that was just a conversation, and they get the wrong vibe, or like you had mentioned, Michael, like going, to the wrong individual. And sometimes that may not be intentional. Sometimes it just could be the fact that you're new and you're going to ask someone that, and they see it as, hey, how come you didn't come to me about that? And that's a powerful thing. And, and that's the great, and without these lessons, we don't grow, I don't know about you, but I've never really grown without it sometimes being hard.
Oh, the only way.
That's the only way, is take the hard way. You know what I mean?
I have to be yelled at like 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
Then I'll get it. Then I got it. But for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Carl. It's a great talk. Shake, rattle, and roll, Mr. Rayle, says Mike Cavell.
Yep. Mike and I go way, way back. We worked on that TV movie together years ago when I was a utility, and he was doing playback.
Oh, that's great. Now, Mike is out of L.A.?
Charlotte.
Okay, great. Yeah, Mike, thanks for being here and saying hello. Appreciate it. And, Carl says, thanks for the shout out, Michael. Great content as always. Thank you, Carl, for being here and saying hello. Alejandra says, ATA 18, I would go with an 816 if it is still in production, or if you can buy them used. And Michael, as always, the chat is filled with side conversations about gear and all that kind of stuff, which is super cool. She asks, what recorder and backup recorder, mixing board, and or console are you working with right now, Michael? And if you're thinking of changing in the near future, what would that be? Thank you.
Well, I'm, like you, Michael, we're both using the Kantar X3s and with a Kantar S. So to be honest with you, I think I found my machine. I really love that machine. And if anything, I'm looking into buying their Kantar Mini for future bag work, and talking about getting smaller and all that. But I think those machines are great, and that's what I've been using for years now.
What's your favorite part? What is it, Mike? Really, what is your favorite part of using that machine? I mean, if you can pick a favorite, I know that's a kind of a weird question.
The way it sounds.
Yeah.
The way it sounds.
Yeah. Great answer. Okay, so Levi Carter, love the MM1 and may replace with the DPR from Lectrosonics if Lectra comes out with a new compatible slot mount unit. Mm-hmm. That sounds like gospel. Yeah. That sounds like gospel to me. The slot, when they come out with a, because we're both Lectrosonics guys. And I've got pretty much all of my Talent Wireless all of my Talent Wireless is Lectrosonics. And I'm not sure if I'm going to go to DSQD yet. I don't know if I'm ready to make that commitment. I have a hard time making commitments. That's why I'm still Venue 1. Michael, you're what, Venue 2?
I'm V2s, yeah.
V2. Yeah, that wideband. That's huge.
Again, it's like that's very helpful, but it sounds good,
That's what really matters. And you had spoke earlier about something I think most important in wireless, which is reliability.
Huge.
If you can't shoot that thing out of a cannon against a wall and pick it up and keep going, how many times have you done a scene where an actor's running across and the transmitter come flying out of their ankle pack?
100. I mean,
and it's like, clank, 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 and you're going, oh my God. And then you just put it back in and it works, right?
Right.
Not every time, but
right. Most of the time, right.
That connector is probably going to go before that. So thank you, Levi. Josh Duncan has a question. Any plans to remote wireless receivers, etc., via Dante in the near future? Seems to be a new trend.
I've seen some of that too, and I certainly appreciate everyone that's exploring that. And that certainly may be something that we do. But my instinct is to keep everything at my fingertips. I've known mixers that have had great success with having some of the gear on their cart, and then some of it goes to another cart with a snake or some variation. But to me, I like to be able to have everything compact as much as possible. And I don't want to have to connect two pieces of gear from two different locations to make the whole machine work. I just want to be able to roll up, and maybe you're rushing or something. Yeah, you don't have a chair, you don't have any of these accoutrements that we're used to carrying. But I can push my cart up, and I have to hit a button, I can roll.
Yeah.
But that certainly may change. I mean, all this daunting at working is moving quickly.
See. Yeah.
Keep an open mind to that for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, to me, there seems like, there are advantages and there are disadvantages. And and speaking of another sound mixer in Atlanta, Aaron Cujo Cooley, who has a YouTube channel, Atlanta Sound Guy, has a great video demonstrating this. So if you're interested in that, you should check it out. Yeah,
it's really cool. He and Scott had this.
Scott Beatty, yeah, it's
very
good stuff.
Impressive. Yeah,
very good.
Was a great job those guys did.
But you're right. I mean, there's going to be pluses and minuses for any workflow that you do. And, so it's a good question. Thank you, Josh, for asking that question. Flip Barrero says, you learn from mistakes. That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And sometimes the hard way. That's been my experience. That's how I, that they wouldn't be called mistakes but it's true. And that's the beauty of it, because there's humility in that, especially if you see, one of the things that you're speaking of, and I get the opportunity to work with a lot of new thirds and who maybe are coming in day playing and stuff and hasn't done like full-time shows. And one of the things that, I try to still instill in them in wiring is just being confident. And I find that just that mindset of looking at a wardrobe and saying, what can I do here as an opportunity? Like, what exciting thing can I do in this wardrobe sometimes makes all the difference of, that's going to be impossible. Because I know, when I started doing independent films, features, stuff like that, even, I was always a one-man band. I was a wire, boomer, bagger. You know what I mean? That guy like that. I thought that's how it was done. So, but man, I would cringe when my wire sounded like dog. Oh, and I would get so nervous knowing that actor going to set that wire wasn't right, but feeling like I couldn't get in there and fix it. You learn. And that lesson, speaking of mistakes, is I'm going to make sure it's right no matter what, because they're so important to us. But, it's just another example of just, mistakes and, of just letting things go when they're not going to work. You got to figure out a way to make sure it's going to work.
And they'll keep coming. I mean, we'll continue making mistakes. It's like,
especially coming, like running the set post-pandemic, right? Not being part of the essential as the mixer, that don't make that mistake. Just a little pandemic humor for you. I don't think they're going to let us on, Mike. What do you think? I think that's going to be a boom op representative.
I think you're right.
It's feeling like that.
Yeah, it is.
The boom op runs the set is going to take on a whole new meaning. Yeah. So David Garcia, hi guys. Here's a good question. Hi guys. I want to ask if you currently use MS mics, and in which situation you would use it. Thanks.
Boy, I never do. I'm never really in a situation where I'm using those. What about you?
I mean, never for dialogue. I have built a rig with a Mix Pre 3 that, if it's appropriate, like when I was mixing P Valley, we were at this beautiful kind of rural location out in the middle of nowhere, and it had this really cool ambience. And when the set was locked up and everything was good, I could send the utility over there with this MS recorder and then just capture it. But always delivered it directly to the re-recording mixer, never through editorial, because they just don't know what to do with it.
Right.
They'd be like, "What's this? Why did you do that?" You know what I mean? And it's almost, you can gain like these. Yeah. So I have done it when appropriate, but I find that's the only way I can do it, because there's no way ever they're going to let you give you time to do that. I mean, that's not happening. That's the sound designer's job. Yeah. But if you can pull one off, that's kind of cool. So good question, David, about MS setups. Alejandro comments, if I was to lean towards a Kantar, no, it's not a question. If I was to lean towards a Kantar, what audio bag would you recommend? Good question.
Yeah, I don't have a bag. It just lives on my cart. So what do you know about the bags? I've seen some, but I don't have any practical experience.
Jeez. Aton has one that they've developed. So, I mean, that would be my first go-to, is to check out what's directly available from them. I mean, would be my first step. And then I believe, simply because that recorder hits a very, niche market, in my opinion, that I don't think we've seen a lot. Doesn't, I say that, and doesn't Orca have one right now, or K-Tech specifically for the X3, or no? Good question. Alejandro, we will learn more about bags. All right. So Nan says, thanks. Yes, I'm using Zaxcom Fusion at the moment, but I'm looking to upgrade, and Kantar is really pulling me towards them from the other mixers I've talked to. They love it. Cheers, guys. Another Kantar fan. Don't ever make...
I'm a believer.
My problem was the same as yours, Mike, when I actually listened to it. I had no intentions in buying it. Mm-hmm. I was a Sound Devices as my main cart. I still have 4 Sound Device machines that I love and I use and I'll continue to use. But for my main cart, when I heard the sound of the X3, that was it. That's all it took for me. The rest of it, I was going to work out. But that's what tipped me over the edge. But I was adamant. Other members like, oh, you really need to look at the X3. I was like, no, I'm not doing the X3. I don't need an X3. It's not
right. Agreed. There
you go. So I think your wife was trying to sneak in the back, and we didn't mean to leave her out. So I think we're almost through the questions here too, Mike. So Levi Carter said, Alejandro, check out the Proto Gear. Oh yeah, Proto Gear.
Right.
You had mentioned that, right, Mike?
Right. They build custom bags around your specific gear, right?
Yeah. That's and it's like really nice and high end and like, I wonder where they're based out of. I don't think the US. Flip comments. I think we were talking about remoting equipment on set. He's bringing back that. He says, I like everything at my fingertips also. He said he tried separating, but no one cares as much as you to keep checking.
I'm glad he said that, because I was going to say that and I chose not to, but agree. I mean, you need to see the stuff in your face.
Yeah. Good point, Flip. Good point. Dejan says, LOL, pandemic humor. Might as well, Dejan, see here. David Garcia says, thanks, guys. Alan Cavedo, I apologize, Alan, if I'm not saying that correctly. Thank you for being here. Good to see you, by the way. He says Stuart Wilson used MS on 1917.
Oh, it sounds fantastic.
Which is why he got the Oscar, right?
Deservedly so, yeah.
Yeah, that's how you get an Academy Award. If I knew that, I would be using all MS here for it. If that's all it's... Yeah. They... What's the... There's a podcast from someone who does... I am majorly failing right now. They do online videos about sound for the film industry, and they're really cool. I can't think of them right now, but they've been at it for a long time, and they did an interview with Stuart Wilson.
I'd like to see that. You should get him on your show.
I should reach out to him. He's on my Instagram, so...
Eric, you're halfway there.
I'm halfway. He knows me. He's probably waiting for the call. So Eric says, are you using the Wizicom LFA wideband active antennas? Michael, are you using the Wizicom LFA wideband from Eric Magnus?
I'm not. I'm using the Betsos.
Did you turn me on to the Betsos, Mike?
I think I did.
Okay, yeah.
I think I did.
Yeah. I think I was first, but maybe we're just remembering it differently. Thank you, Eric. So Levi says Orca has one for it as well. Oh, great. Orca has a
Perfect.
option. So Proto Gear, we learned Proto Gear, Orca, and Aton are the three options that we know about right now for bags. I would not recommend carrying it in a case around the state park, which is what I did. It was a lot heavier than I made it look in the footage, you know. All right, so Levi Card, there is an Orca bag for the Kantar X3. Okay, great. Proto Gear is in Canada, I believe, are in Canada. Okay, thank you, Levi. All right. Levi say, is it Video Mantis? No. Not that it couldn't be. I'm thinking, I have the word Future Media in my head, but that's like a education online company. What is it? They're out of Orlando. It's not Full Sail, and they have. Never mind. I'll put it in the comments below. We'll give up on that. So Alejandra asks, Flip says Stuart had a year to plan for 1918. 19. Very good, Flip. I see the humor, but yeah, you don't get a year to do TV, to plan for TV. That's for sure. Yeah.
No.
I don't think even the it even is in development that long. That's not true, but anyway. Okay. Alejandro asked, and we just got looks like two more questions here, Mike. Are you guys familiar with the Rast Order sound cart? I remember, but I think it's from Australia. Who distributes or sells them in the U.S. Are you familiar with Rast Order, Michael, or anything about that cart? Who built your cart? Where's your cart from, Michael?
Use the SKB case, and it was kind of the base of it was built by Jason Dozer in Atlanta.
Oh, yes. I didn't know Dozer built your cart as well. That's great.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Yeah, mine too. Yeah, Metal Dozer. You can find them online.
Metal Dozer, yeah.
He builds amazing.
And he's a great guy.
I'll never need to replace that cart my whole career. I mean, it's a tank.
Right.
You know, unless you wanted to go lighter, like, with something else. Flip comments. Thank you, Alejandro. I love the Betso antennas. Yes. Oh, he's another Betso guy. Yeah. I love them too.
Me too.
I will say this, and this is just spec talking. The Betsos go all the way up to what, 790 or something. So they don't have that roll off that the Wizicom ones do. So I don't know how much noise is there. I hate to bring it up, but it's not like I've ever had a problem with it. I mean, it's just something to, Josh Duncan says, I have a Rast order, buy direct from Australia. Thank you, Josh. Mike Cavell, with the distancing mixers may be from set. Oh, we're talking again once about remoting receivers to set. With the distancing, mixers may be from set or farther from set, I think. Is your vote for long coax runs with active antennas rather than Dante remote rack?
It seems to me that it would be easier to move antenna. I mean, but truthfully now, I'm already more than 6 feet away from actors. I mean, I don't know how far I'm supposed to be in this new world. That's what I'm kind of waiting to see. I feel like, most mixers are maybe a few feet away from Video Village. And I mean, I'm doing that anyway. Remoting antennas up closer to the set. So I don't know how much further I need to go away. I don't think further than I'm already doing.
Yeah. And what are you using? My LMR 240 for your me too. It's real light cable. It's a pain in the rear if you're not used to it though. It's like Gumby.
Yeah.
But if you tape them together, do you tape yours together just to keep them as a is that just what you just use paper tape every 6 feet or so or something like that? Yeah. Something like that. Okay. Cool.
That's good.
And then I have 2 custom-made dinosaur cases, She says, very well-made carts. Thank you, guys in Betso, all the way same for their time code. Oh, yeah. She's talking about the TCX2s. Do you use the Betso TCX2s?
Mm-hmm.
Did I just copy your whole cart, Mike Rayle? Is that what happened?
I didn't know that until now.
That
So
I did. Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I had it first. There you go.
that
Okay.
ensures you to get like every second unit that happens on my show. So
Yes.
bravo.
That's the whole reason for this stream in the first place. All right. So last comment here, guys. We're going to wrap things up out of respect for Michael Rayle's time. One last comment from Flip says, long coax runs with Betzo. I'm 100 and 125 feet away. Yeah. Yeah. He's farther than 6 feet. That's for sure. Yeah. That's what I just use a 100-foot run on, and I've got multiple 100-foot runs. So if I have to do a pre-run, you see, if we know we're doing a move, we'll pre-run the second line and then just disconnect and connect, because it's easier to pick up the cable while they're rehearsing than it is to try to get it run before they do. Here we go. So everyone's Levi says Betzo all the way here too. Yeah, lots of Betzo fans here. John Hicks says, thank you, gentlemen. And Michael, really, this has been just a real pleasure just to hang out, have some fun. And
For me
really,
too.
You're definitely one of those guys in the community that I really admire, and I appreciate your time and you're offering your time and experience here to the production sound community here on this channel, and it means a lot. And for you doing this, and I think you've been doing some surfing, right, Michael?
I've been doing some surfing, which has been really fun. But and also thanks to you for doing this. I mean, this is a great tool for all of us, and it's really fun to watch. And I hang out with you any opportunity I get. So there you go.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Well, that's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to stay posted for future streams here, and we'll look forward to seeing everyone very soon.